Okay, so the purpose of this video today is to show you how you can use the Legislative Research Council's website to find legislative history information at the bill level. So you can see here that we have a House bill pulled up from the 2014 session. It's House Bill 1177, which is the enactment of South Dakota's texting while driving law. I picked this as an example because what you can see from this screen here is a listing of all the major actions on the legislation as it went through the House and Senate all the way to being signed by the governor. Now, there's a lot of activity on this bill. Not all bills are that way, but I thought this would be a good example so that you can see, all the different possibilities that you might see from this listing. So, getting started, you can see up here at the top it's got the bill number. There's a short purpose statement. This may or may not be important based on your research, but you can see that all of the sponsors of the bill are listed. If you click into one of the names, you can see that you've got more detailed information on that representative. So there's a bio, short bio, the different committees that representative belongs to, and a whole listing of the different pieces of legislation that representative has sponsored. So that can be interesting information. Go back here over. So now going into the main listing, you can see that usually the first action on the bill is when it is read in that chamber and then referred to the committee of that chamber. So being a House bill, this originated in the House and was referred to the House Judiciary Committee. You can see next that was scheduled for a hearing before the Judiciary Committee. And then here you can see on February 5th that the committee actually held their hearing. They did move to amend the original legislation at their hearing and passed an amendment. Unfortunately, these links aren't working as of the day I'm recording this video, but if they were, you could go and you could look at that individual amendment that they passed. What might be most helpful, if you're really interested in, getting the underlying reasoning, perhaps, about, why this bill was introduced, maybe what considerations the committee undertook in making that amendment, you can listen to the full audio recording of that committee's hearing. These are recorded by the South Dakota Public Broadcasting Network, and if you click on their icon here, you'll be linked to the recording of that full committee hearing. Now, these committees might, meet for an hour, a couple hours at a time, so the LRC has been very helpful to you in putting the location of where during the recording that this particular piece of legislation was discussed. So if you click here, you can see that it's just jumping right into the recording of the committee hearing. Now, this was House Bill 1177, happened to be the first piece of legislation that was discussed at this committee hearing, so you can see that it started right away at 1:46, but the total length of this committee hearing is 1 hour and 21 minutes. So if we look at some other examples down the line, you may see that it may not be the first piece of legislation that was discussed, so you'll need to toggle to the location where it actually was discussed in the hearing. Okay, so it looks like the result of that committee hearing was to defer and reschedule for another hearing. So House Judiciary met again on February 10th, and at that time they passed the amendment. You can see the vote here of what they voted, and there's an entry made in the House Journal that day, and that gives you the citation for that. Now, if you wanted to see actually the comparison between the bill as it was first originally read in the House and introduced, and how it looked when this amendment was made and it came out of the committee, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and you can see this section here of bill text versions. You can get those in either HTML or PDF format. For this purpose of this video, I think it's going to be a little easier to look at the HTML format. So if we click here, we'll be able to see what the bill looked like when it was introduced. If you go back, we can look and see what it looked like with the amendments that the House Judiciary made. So that can be really helpful to kind of see the changes that have been made as it goes along and compare the different versions. Okay, so going back up, you can see that then this bill went forward, to the House to vote on. It passed in the House 53-17, and then it moved on to the Senate. So it was read in the Senate and referred to the Senate State Affairs Committee. So you can see that they went through their own process. That committee also met, held a hearing. Let's take a look here at the recording of that hearing. You can see here, this time the bill was not the very first thing discussed. It wasn't discussed until 35 minutes into the committee hearing. They made several amendments. This is an interesting example because there was a conference committee for this particular piece of legislation. So that doesn't always happen, but this one there was a conference committee, and so you can see all of the different actions that conference committee took. And the same is true that you can listen to the recordings of all of those hearings. So ultimately, the bill came out of the conference committee, was signed by both the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, delivered to the governor, and the governor signed the bill on March 28th, 2014. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what you can see at the bill level for a particular piece of legislation. As it so happens, I'm recording this video during the 2018 session of the South Dakota Legislature. You can perform this same kind of analysis on a current bill that's going through the legislature if you happen to be looking at the website during the session. So, and this is oftentimes called bill tracking. So we can look here at a 2018 bill. So we'll go here, and you can see that they're all listed here. So if you were interested in a particular topic that you heard on the news, but you don't know what the bill number is, you could always do kind of like a Control-F search. So, I was reading about a bill to amend the initiative and referendum process. So let's see if I can spell initiative. Okay, it must be, oh, here it is. It's under initiated measures, so it's a little tricky. But, then you would pull up the bill. If you click right here, it's going to take you to a very similar listing, only it happens to be for the current session. So here you can see this bill was read in the House on January 9th and has been referred to the House State Affairs Committee. They've had one hearing. In this example, no proposed amendments were made at the committee level. So it passed through committee, has passed the House, and as the time this video is recorded, it's been read in the Senate and referred to the Senate State Affairs Committee. Again, you can see the original bill text version. There's no additional version here coming out of the committee hearing because no amendments were made, but we can take a look here and see how the bill looks currently. There's a lot of information you can get for legislative history on the South Dakota LRC website. I do always want to remind researchers to keep in mind that this information does only go back to 1997. So if you're looking for legislative history information prior to that, using print resources is going to be your best bet. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact one of the law librarians. Thank you.